Manaaji'idiwin. They respect each other. Old are the chants of the ancient ones. They now echo back from the boundaries of the universe. Traditional teacher, Dr. Isaac Day. To the eastern direction. Help me with my feelings. Zhawenjige. Walking with a good heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was conceived and born in the darkness. My life force has been greatly influenced by the intergenerational trauma of being a first-generation born Canadian of Chinese Colombian descent. Both my mother and father survivors of war and genocide, indigenous peoples of the eastern and southern directions. The intention and place of my being in this place called Turtle Island, tainted by trauma and violence. I've always found it hard to truly belong. I look native, I am indigenous, but not to Turtle Island. I'm not First Nations, Métis, or Inuit. I was raised as a Canadian of immigrant parents, then taken and raised in Hong Kong from the age of 8 until I returned at the age of 16. By my 17th birthday, I would be in a locked psychiatric ward with fresh cuts on my arm and a group home waiting for me on the other side of the door. I was discharged from the group home at 19 and a half. An unprepared virgin with no one and very little to call my own. I thought I could hack it. After all, I'd raised myself since I was 5, and I parented my own parents. How hard could it really be? Alone in the world and haunted by my own horrific childhood, I spent my 20th birthday as sex worker hustling the Lava Life phone lines for clients. I went from a gullible kid virgin from care to a jaded whore almost overnight. I existed in this vacuum of the street life, suffocating in the darkness and the seemingly endless and hopeless dehumanizing corner grate. I was in a dark place, waking every day after the sun set, then drinking and drugging my way through the night on the corner, hoping to make enough to continue numbing myself till dawn, where I would fall asleep and do it all again. I didn't like waking up sober. This distinct awareness and sensation of the darkness spreading from within and all around us. Life on the streets was hard and harsh, so like a tornado, I was a vortex of hard, harsh darkness. Part death wish, part hopeless, a lot of rage, and all self-sadist. As the stormy wind and raindrops lash at my skin, I can see myself fighting the elements themselves, telling them to do their worst, punching at the air, wind, and raindrops in futility. The tears streaming down my face, no different than the raindrops lashing my face like tiny paper cuts. A purity in journey sets in when you are built of rage and have trained it to lash out against yourself, telling yourself it's better you suffer than others. Like a tornado, I decimated everything and everyone in my path, most of all myself. Several years into my death race with time, determined that I would never see 30, I found myself at Six Nations in Isaac and Deb's backyard. No idea what or where I was. One part of me wanted to sigh and take in the forest and nature and relax into the moment, but most of me was all coiled CPTSD, watch your back energy. That fateful day was the first moment of the rest of my life. I showed up to Isaac's lodge, a mess without emotions, without community, without hope, without love, and most of all, not a lot of kindness. A tornado of darkness bundled in this compact little chubby package of confusion and rage. Now, many years later, having lived this life, now 20 plus years, I think of how I feel when I close my eyes and hear the opening of the tarps in between rounds. How the smoke swirls in the entrance, showing you the pathways of the wind and smudge intermingling. I think of how the heat emanating off the grandpas and grandmas would distort how the world looked around us. I remember all the times words flowed through me as healing flowed into me from our mother. Some years later, I remember doing our color find with Isaac. In Isaac's way, we were blindfolded, the 7 colors lay around us, and we would find the pull from within to go to our color. Blue was the color I got, same as my best friend who went right before me, same as the water and skies. My favorite color, the color of strength, and Isaac said specifically spiritual strength. It was all too much, so I ran back to the place I understood the best, the darkness. If I was wind then, I would be whipping against your face in a barren, almost alien landscape, feeling like tiny glass shards cutting your face and skin. I was dry, barren, and harsh. No tears, just anger and much resentment. How dare the world give me spiritual strength as my gift? Was I a giant joke to them? A broken china doll? A scarlet whore? A throwaway? I felt sharp and cutting like a treacherous landscape, with the winds howling in the grayness, whipping my hair so hard against my face it feels like multitude of tiny whips, the wind threatening to rip off anything untethered, dangerous and uncaring. You fall, float, drown, drift. You exist in the eye of the storm while life is still a tornado ripping apart your life outside. But here, in the middle, it's still. Water is dribbling down the walls and cracks. The wind whips and howls. The house shakes and creaks like it's sobbing in the rain with you. After some time passes and you have no more, you find yourself deeply and slowly inhaling the still night air as a mist envelops your soul. Deep, stilling breaths resonating in the misty fog, echoing around you while hiding you from sight. The room to breathe slightly easier, bigger breaths are possible, and deep inhales come naturally. You take a few controlled deep breaths and bellow all your pent up tension out. Somehow, as all storms must come, they must also pass. And after a time, you find the storm settles and you're looking up at the sky. Perhaps as you land, you can hear the wind gently sway the trees and plants around you. Your hair billows slightly in the wind with everything else. I remember the time an eagle gently patted my head with its wingtips, as if it could feel the breadth and depth of me was shallow from depression and sickness. The moment I felt the contact, and I glanced, seeing the talons not even a few inches from my face, I had no fear, as I was still swept up in the fact that a live eagle touched me, and I feel a significant lightness land and something lift from me. This particular eagle was having a cheeky day, and instead of soaring and flying as much, it opts to instead walk ungracefully about, reminding me even eagles need to be grounded sometimes. To the southern direction. Help me with my hearing.
Zungade'e. They have a strong heart.
I will always remember at the summit of Thunder Mountain and how the wind felt on my face. I remember hearing the mixture of people chatting, the wind of the peak, and the flapping of the colored ties on the trees. Whenever I'm in a dark place, I can close my eyes and hear Deb and Isaac singing that intro they sing sometimes. I affectionately called it the wind song. There is parts of the song that sound like the wind, and the way they would sing it, it always felt like a lullaby gently coaxing a child to sleep. Like very old ancestors were singing to their children, us, on top of this beautiful, sacred place. My favorite thing on top of Thunder Mountain was watching and hearing the flapping of the colored ties in the trees. I would always think about all the people who came here on this journey like me and put all their love and prayers into these ties. One of them in the 7 colors forming a circle, Isaac would always say medicine is everywhere. After all the years of being lost in the darkness, after all the years of hearing stories and legends of Thunder Mountain, I finally stood upon her with the wind surrounding us. I am normally very afraid of heights, but I climbed this mountain and stood at the top, victorious and unafraid, arms outstretched as if to hug Creator themselves. So many years we would climb the mountain, especially as the final day of the women's retreat, learning firsthand the connection of water, land, and wind through our journey to Bull Lake, Heart Rock, and the top of Thunder Mountain. Not only learning about the connection that is mind, body, spirit, but living it and connecting to each element and learning to understand the connection it has to each of us. We are all these elements. I stood upon her, feeling loved for the first time in my life, truly loved, unconditionally, forever. The wind surrounding me like a hand-quilted blanket made by a grandma. Most of all, I cherished the memory of my friend going up the mountain with nothing but herself and her bright yellow rain outfit, and the beatific smile she had when she came back with most of her hair cut off. Most of us helpers camped at the bottom of the mountain, sharing and sleeping in the cook tent wigwam. She had barely got up the mountain to begin her 4 days fast. As if to welcome her, the night sky opened up and poured rain, while crashing thunders and lightning played in the sky above us. We worried about her, but knew she could handle it, as she was a seasoned rain dancer. The thunders, rain, and wind intermingled for most of those 4 days as she fasted. When I think about the wind, I also think about the sounds of freezing rain blowing through the night, waking up to the ethereal sight of ice-covered trees completely covering the sacred landscape before us. I think about the time I arrived with my traveling companion before anyone else and a beautiful raven greeting us as we set up our campsite. I think about the sacred circle and all the beautiful sacred fires I've sat through the night with. How the wind would whistle through the trees and make the sacred fire dance and twinkle in the darkness. I can almost feel the wind in my hair, gently swaying the temple of trees above me. In the day, you could see the clouds moving assuredly past the canopy of trees as the trees slowly waved their salutations back to the big, beautiful sky. At night, they came alive like underwater anemones, reaching for the stars. I can almost feel the chill in the air, the sound of the trees creaking, and the feeling of the earth under my feet and our mother's tendrils beyond. Gathering my band of misfit weirdo girls and dragging our sleeping bags into the parking lot area to lie down on our mother and watch the shooting stars. One of them coming right at us, exploding the whole sky above us into a spectacular brilliance of bright light or tiny moment of perfection. When I first set foot on the mountain, a little voice in me whispering, "You are home," and feeling it land in my mind, body, and spirit. The mountain whispered, "It's been a long time, friend," and the trees doing their happy little dance. I wondered then what my connection to this sacred space was and how they knew me when I had only come here for the first time. The rocks, the little people, and all the Sabes welcoming me back to a land I had forgotten and a being I don't remember being. I will always miss the look of dancing flames on bare skin and the many beautiful ceremonies with the wind whispering in all of us, from our heart fire to the sacred fire to Creator. Nothing more simple and joyful to do in the mornings than offerings to the grandfathers and grandmothers. Ani bujur mishomes nokomes. A sip of life-giving water, a pinch of tobacco, a strawberry to wake them up and connect to the ancient wisdom these helpers carry. The medicine that is the natural world full of wonder. The colored ties framing the circle drifting slightly in the sunlight. Thunder Mountain, the place that gave White Bear Woman her light back, despite the legends of it being where the white bear turns black. When life gets overwhelming, negative, or dark, I close my eyes and I'm transported back to it, and my being relaxes in the safety and security that is the medicine of the mountain. If I were to be honest, the wind reminds me of Creator. Sometimes it feels as if they are touching me. Other times it feels as if the wind can read my emotions and is manifesting it in the weather. Wind being strong in ways I cannot even begin to understand, teaching me that strength is not just in the ability to break and overpower, but to bring life and create resilience. Even in the stillness, there is magic permeating everything. To the western direction. Help me with my seeing.
Za-Wen-ji-ge, humility. To the ones I love, Courtney, Cassandra, Wendy, Bumper, Tia, Julie, and Ian.
grandmother, hear my cries. No, Comus, can you hear my heart crying? A child of yours needs your strength and wisdom. Your child needs you to stop this hurting, and I need your comfort most of all. To the ones that I have loved and lost, I miss you most of all. As I watch this smudge smoke rise as the sun, I pray you are here with me in some way. When I feel the wind on my skin, the rain spitting against me, when I see the lightning far away and hear the thunderclap, I think of all of you and hope you are at peace wherever you are. Sometimes I can hear your laughter in the breeze, still feel your tears as the rain engulfs my pain with me. Other times I imagine you smoking a spliff with me as I watch the smoke drift off into the stars. When I wake up to a sunny day and my crystals blowing in the window, I like to believe the dancing refractions are of you saying hi from realms unknown. I don't know if this black hole of grief will ever go away, but sometimes if I think of all of you, and love from spirit being the wind in all its forms, I can close my eyes and feel close to you, as if I can feel the faintest touch from you. Wind, ever present, always moving, connecting us spiritually to everyone and everything. Does the wind take my tears and prayers to you so that you may know how much I miss you? Does Creator miss us like we do each other? If I cry and suffer hard enough, will the wind take pity on our children and the next generation? Can the wind change the times and blow more beauty, love, gentleness, kindness, and peace into our lives? To the northern direction, help me with my talking.
Bigijigan offerings.
White Bear prays. I stand here before you, bare naked, soul wide, basking in your light. I seek your guidance, your signs, and your lessons. As I drink the sights of the water, mountain, sky, and sun, I stand here before you, humble, wordless, and faithful. In all this majesty, I am briefly a moment of all. I call to you to protect those around me that cannot see this light. I ask you to guide them from darkness, so that they may stand before you, bare naked, soul wide, and humble, as I do this moment, walking side by side and with you in my heart, as the sun rises another day.
from our birth, that first gasping of breath inhaling air, until we return home, our life is filled with breaths and moments. Moments that are mundane, breathtaking, heart-wrenching, and blessed. Manaaji'idiwin. They respect each other. The act of giving life to the thought of love connecting us from Creator to the stars, from spirits who prayed for our existence to our journey back to ourselves and to each other. Perhaps this piece is about love, not just who we love and how we love, but love itself in its simplest form, existing and unconditional. Perhaps wind in all its forms is Creator's whispering. Like a web with gentle tendrils reaching out and barely visible, softly mending us in all the broken spaces, to give voice to the shape of our spirit, so that we may always land softly upon it in the stars. The journey from our mind to our heart is the journey of life itself. It is the longest and the hardest journey we will ever have to take, but it's so beautiful to love and be loved. Creator doesn't make junk. Traditional teacher Dr. Isaac Day.